It's right now 5 p.m. That means coffee time for Europeans. So perfect timing to learn how to make a nice mid-century coffee table. What's going to be interesting in this exercise is how we can create very fluid curves or shapes, as you can see. And then I will show you how we can bring in textures like this MDF material onto various faces. So we could better tell somebody that this is 3D wood, this is an MDF core, and then this is painted over. I will also show you in addition how and where we can find fitting textures online. Then we will go into various image programs like Pixelmator, Photoshop, or Affinity Photo to do cool stuff like this. Zip, make stuff disappear. So we can bring it back into Fusion for texturing. Okay, let's go. So before we start, two things. First, right click and do not capture design history. Then document settings, this should be in millimeters, very good. And we will start by bringing in few canvases. So what's a canvas? Let's go to the desktop. I have here two reference images. They are screenshots from the design. That gives us a good reference about where things should be. Each one also has a dimensional information. So we can bring this into Fusion and then scale them correctly. So they work like blueprints in the background. The download link for those two images as an archive is inside the video description. Now let's go back to Fusion. We will go to the back, very good. Insert canvas from my computer. I unpacked the images to the desktop. There's back, open. And now I can click these planes. This is the plane I want. Very good. Can make this a little bit bigger. Click OK. Very good. Now, we brought the image in, but it's not really to scale yet. Click on back. So we are in orthographic view. Then we go to browser, canvases, right click, calibrate. The next step is important. We do this cleanly. So when I zoom in, I can see here, there's my background grid. So I can now click and then left mouse button, click. And you see, I measure this distance and then say that should be 20 millimeters. Enter, and there we are. Last step is, you can see here there's a registration mark. There's my center in Fusion. Here's the center in Fusion or in the design. And now right click, edit canvas. And all I do is bring this up, bring this over. Okay, very good. Now that's good. Next step. Again, insert canvas and bottom. Okay. Now I will rotate the bottom view and select just the bottom canvas, or sorry, plane. Rotate this to there so that this foot looks actually to the left side, because that is this leg. Click OK. Then I click bottom again. Right click, calibrate, zoom in. And then here again, try to click at the center of the line using this grid line somewhere down there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And that is now 30 millimeter. Enter. Very good. The image is actually along one axis centered. The only thing I need to do is move this left or right. You can see here's the glide. There it is too. So I bring this over and you see how they start to overlap. Very good. So now if I rotate around, yeah, that should look correct. Very good. Click OK. And now we have positioned these two images correctly. So from the top view, from the side view. We don't have from the front, we don't need it. But we essentially have from all important views a visual reference. So now we can use this easily to sketch over everything. So with that done, we can now think about, okay, how do I start now? And one very big tip I can give everybody learning how to design digitally in a 3D program: don't get discouraged by the complexity of an object. Try to break it down into the geometrical building blocks and then develop a methodology. Where do you start? Where do you end? I think the tabletop is easy, then the piece below, and then comes all the rest. Because this like we build and then we just copy rotate it. Okay, very good. So we would like to create the tabletop. I need to sketch actually at this height. Okay, if I go create sketch, I only have these 3 planes to put a sketch onto. And when I created a sketch, I can't just move it. So what we have to do first is create right along this height a construction plane that we have here. With the offset command, I can now click this construction plane and simply move this up. Let's zoom in a little bit. And that seems to be about right. Let's maybe make this clean. 43.2. Okay. This reference is also just only an image. So the more we zoom in, the bigger this line gets. So we should work precise, but we can't work that super precise. Okay, very good. Now we have this. Now we can create sketch, click on this. And then you can see now how the grid is actually above the ground. Top view. And I will introduce you now to the Spline tool. Go to create, and there we have Spline. There are 2 types, fit point and control point. The difference is very easy to explain. Fit point. Fit point creates a curve that flows through points. Escape, and then we can drag these points, and you see how the whole curve changes. So if I change something here, even there it changes. Plus, when I click a point or a fit point, I can drag out handles and override even more how at these points I would like the curve to behave. The CV control, the CV or control point spline works by first point, whatever point in between, and it stops at the end point. So when I move a point here, you see maybe this area gets influenced, but not the start. And you can see that besides the first and the end point, the curve does not flow through these points. So the main difference or usability is if I need a curve to go through a point, then actually this curve is good. If I just need to create a shape by its own, this might actually be pretty good. We actually will settle for the fit point spline. So we'll show you something quite interesting. So we also have snap on. So I click, click, click very loosely and click. There we are. Now at this point, I would like to be horizontally constrained to our sketch center. There we are. And escape. Then I can bring this a little bit closer. Very good. This point I bring to there, and I would like these 2 points be symmetrical. So here's a little trick. I will somewhere outside draw myself a line, escape, and the line should be on the grid, and then I lock it. So you see now it can't really move anymore. Or actually this point still can lock. There, there. Okay, perfect. Now let's go to symmetry and say this point and this point be symmetrical along this line. You didn't really see much changing because I, by accident, placed these points perfectly. But you see now how I'm dragging one point, the other one updates. Okay, very good. Now, since we're working here, let's click on this point. You see there's now a green handle. When we click this point of the handle and then drag, we can drag it out. This is a little bit jumpy. When you press M or you go to move, it behaves much better. Okay, let's do the same here. We pull this handle out, M, and we can move it. By the way, if you do not want this tangency handle be active anymore, right click and say deactivate tangency handle. Now actually this line and this line I would like to be exactly the same length. Well, that's where we can use the equal constraint. Equal you to you, perfect. So you see now how they operate this way. Also, I would like the position of this point and this point to be symmetrical. Okay, we know symmetry, this point to this line, escape. And there now you can see how easy it is to control left and right. Okay, now let's maybe focus on this point, position this correctly, good. And then this curve there, okay. This looks actually really good. Now, how can we change this? So click here, drag this down. This is not good what happens there. Plus, you see how this can rotate. I would like this line to be vertical. Okay. Vertical constraint. Zack. And we could even say equal and equal. And escape. Now, the problem we might see is these rounded corners are actually all pretty good, but here this gets flatter. I'm not hitting this area, so what do I do there? I can push this out, try to make this maybe match. Let's see. Yeah, but then here doesn't work. Here doesn't work, so that's not really helping much. So I will reset this so that here this is good. And maybe a little bit more of push, moving the point, moving the handle. Okay. With splines in general, one rule is also try to work with the least amount of points as possible. So I need, however, here more points. How can I insert more points? Click the spline, right click, insert spline fit point. Click, click. I don't do a click here yet. And then escape. Very good. Now we need this to be symmetrical. So symmetry, escape, click this point, M, and now I can drag this where I want. Maybe here. Nice. And this one maybe I rotate a tick more. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's actually not too bad. Let me introduce you also to what's called Curvature Graph. Click the spline, right click, and then say toggle curvature display. So what's this? At the three corners, you see the red line going away, and then here the red line gets smaller. So basically, when my curve has a red line following it, that means this curve over a bigger distance deforms very uniform. And then here over a small area, it quickly changes the direction a lot. It's a very good tool to see the quality of a curve. Okay, this might maybe sound a little bit, what is class talking about? Let me try to do something like this. So I made a curve out of 3 points and many points. Beautiful, clean. And yep, crazy. So this is way too noisy what's happening. The moment I start deleting points, there you can see how slowly this gets actually cleaner. Okay. Here, this is actually really good. I want maybe this to be a little bit closer. So insert fit point somewhere there, escape. This point horizontally constrained to here, escape, and then select the point M and bring it in. There we are. Maybe fine tune this a little bit. So you see, when you drag it this way, you actually do not snap to the grid. That's pretty good. Yeah, this is actually really good. Awesome. So the curvature graph now, if we want, we can turn off, because actually the graph told us this looks really good. Finish sketch. There we are. Now we would like to extrude this one up. Okay, so we use the extrude command. We select a sketch profile and then we push and pull extrude it. We also know this should be 20 millimeters. Okay, 20 millimeters. Enter. Let's actually hide all the canvases and the sketch. Right click, dissolve. So this is our raw part. Here's another really nice thing actually to look at. Also, for example, as a good example, as a good showcase, I have to stop using example all the time, a good showcase to illustrate why modeling furniture in SketchUp, for example, is doable, just not advisable. This edge I would like to round. Okay, let's give this a fillet. 0.2. I mean 2 millimeter, maybe 4 millimeter. Okay. Now I would like to change this fillet. Okay. Now we make it bigger. Now actually I would like to remove this fillet. Okay, let's select it and press delete. And we get the old edge back. How does this look when we chamfer it? Chamfer. Yeah, this looks good. Actually, I like it to be filleted. Okay, let's select the surface and delete it. Go fillet, click, click. 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter. That's good. Yeah. So you see actually how powerful this type of modeling is. You don't have to redo stuff necessarily. You just remove steps and then add other steps and you get your original geometry back. Very nice. So I would say at this point, we actually finished modeling the tabletop. The next piece we could model is actually this wooden base at the bottom. That is actually added simply to reinforce the material thickness. So when the leg elements are screwed or connected to the tabletop, we have plenty of material to make this a secure connection. So how can we do this quite easily? So we need a rectangular sketch, and the sketch has to be at the bottom part. So we will do it the following way. I will hide this for the moment. Here's the construction plane. Very good. Turn on the sketches. So you see the sketches, and we can call this tabletop. Yep, thank you. And now new sketch, and I go onto, and this is important actually, the construction plane. You see, we can also in the browser select objects. Sometimes in the 3D view, this is a little bit tricky. See how this flips. I very often find selecting this in the browser is easier. So click plane, there we are. Cool, now we can go to the top view. Turn on canvas, now there is the rectangle, very good. Create rectangle, center, click, go up. So 140, 140. I just type only in 140 and then go equal and say you is you're equal to this one. That's it. Escape. When I say 100, there, other one adjusts, because this line should always be equal to this line. And because I have horizontal, vertical constraints, all these lines are either horizontal or vertical. Yeah, cool. There's also a perpendicular constraint there, right in that corner. So while this is horizontal, this is perpendicular. This line is parallel to this one, so it will make this vertical, and this line is parallel to the horizontal constraint line, so that forces it to be horizontal. Very good. Finish. Now here we can go to the side view. The main reason why I don't have this one visible is when I now click actually on this, nope. Here, turn this off, this one, drag this one down. It does not by accident join it to something. When I do it with it, you see it's automatically joined, or then you have to be sure that you click new body. Okay, and how does it look like? -20. Okay, there we are. We could call this support base. Yeah, this is also our tabletop. And this is support base. Yeah. I name sketches a lot. Bodies I don't really name while I did this here right now. But one big warning, if we actually, for example, start fusing elements together via the combine command, the name sometimes get changed, which is why naming bodies is not really necessarily very useful, unfortunately. So these two, right click dissolve, very good. Yeah, nice. So that's good. Now the next step that's going to be easy to do is, yeah, which one should we do? You see here this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so this hexagon. How can we easily model this one? So first we need to put it actually on this plane now. So you see this is actually where the sketch should be on. So new sketch on this face. No, okay, very good. Then I can maybe turn these elements off, go to the top view, and then go to create. And what could we do to create this? And that's actually the polygon tool. Edge to edge polygon, create a polygon, single edge in positions. Yeah, so they should be inside, circumference, inscribed, etc. So click, drag this one out. Okay, so there you see there's a 6 numbers. It's really important now to make the lines horizontal, vertical, left and right, that I go along the grid, not slightly rotated. So 50 is the, looks like diameter. If I type in 8, nope, or tab 8, no. Maybe I have to click first. Okay, escape. Double click. Okay, hold on. Let's delete this one more time. There. Just tab. Press tab key. 8. Okay, tab 6, tab 40, 50. Yeah, okay, good. So that's the way how we do this. Very good. Click. Very good. Okay. Now I would like to create this. So from here into this corner and from there to that corner, 2 lines. Very good. How do we do this vertically? Super easy. I just, on purpose, again, be careful. There's somewhere in the midpoint. You don't want to click on the midpoint. So you click, and on purpose, I click on the midpoint here. escape. And to change this, we can delete this triangle midpoint. And then this one again, we can drag onto that surface. Good. So this should be nice and vertical. So, okay, vertical constraint. Oh, the rest rotated. Okay, well, this is actually not specified to be vertical. So click on it. Dang, there it is. We have the radius here, and then we can, with M move command, bring this over. At least sometimes it works. There, I have to click on the point. Okay. But ideally, the best way is Shift, left mouse button, click, and then sketch dimension. And let's call this 20 millimeter. There. So 2 centimeters. Very good. Nice. Finish. You notice actually I did not do the rest because I don't need it. So what I will do now is I will go to extrude. See, I have all these bodies not visible, and extrude this simply down to what length? Let's say 80. Yeah, oh, 80 looks good. 79. That's not very clean. In general, with dimensions, you can use whatever you want, but always be mindful about the person that later has to create everything. The easier the numbers, the more mistakes you can prevent when something is being produced. Very good. Now we have actually one piece. How do we do the other pieces? Well, we actually now can go to pattern and circular pattern. We would like this body to be around, yeah, that should be, this is our axis. Very good. And there we are. Ta-da! Super. So you saw actually, it's not important to do a complete sketch of everything. Just an element we only need is good. Hexagon, base, there we are. So now comes the last piece for the sketch. How do we do the leg? That's actually quite interesting. Shows you also again the power of or the usefulness of a powerful modeler like Fusion. So let's turn on the canvas image. So I can easily from the side draw a line, but how do I find these lines later? I could draw this by hand, but ideally, even a millimeter in furniture design can be very noticeable. So all the lines I want to be perfect. Okay, so first, create sketch on this plane. That's good. Now I will go to a 3D view. Then I go to create, project, include, and here we have something called intersect. Now with my mouse, I go onto this face, and you see actually how we have here a red line. If I go into this face, there's a red line. Because this red line, as you can see, that is where the sketch intersects with that face. If I go to this edge, I get a point. So I click on this edge, click on this edge, click on this edge, click OK. Then let's hide everything else. And there you see we have 3 points. That's pretty cool because between these 3 points, I can draw 2 lines. Show the rest, back view. And now I can go from here to there, over, and not to the end, but somewhere here. Okay, let's clean everything up a little bit. Sketch dimension, so this point to here, let's say 15 millimeters again. Clean values, 0.5 millimeter is too crazy. How wide is this? we make this 32. Okay, or 31. Yeah, 31. How high is this off the ground? So I can click this line. Now I have to go to the center point here. You see I can make a reference, bring this over and say 5 millimeters. Okay, that's good. These two lines are blue. That means if I press escape, I can move this still. So various ways to specify this. Specify meaning to prevent them moving. I can add a radius. Well, maybe this should be a 160 degrees. Or 159. Or I could also say, so from here to there, what's the distance? 176 maybe? Yeah. It's up to you what you would like to work with. I will just go with 159, 158, whoops, so 160, nope, 195.5. 159.5. Okay, very good. That's nice. Finish sketch, very good. So now we have actually the correct position. In this drawing here, we see this is 3 millimeter material thickness. And you see that the sketch is perfectly centered on this leg. So how do we extrude this one to the left and the right? It's actually super well solved. So we go extrude, and then here we say symmetry. And when I push this one out, well, it says, okay, doesn't show the other elements here. There, good, everything is gone. So there I can see now how left and right this goes out. One side only, left or right. Two sides, but individually. Or symmetry. And then here I can specify half the length or the full length. So the full length should be 30 millimeters. Okay, that's it. See, super easy. Maybe a little bit of rounding might be nice. So let's hide this. We call this lag. I switch into editing by accident. Let's exit it. And now we go fillet and click this, 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 and then this edge. Maybe we go with 5 millimeters. That looks good. See, then the bottom here is sharp. On the top there, this is all perfectly rounded. This we can keep sharp, but the bottom we would like to clean a little bit more because this is 5. This can only be 5 or smaller. And I will make this maybe 4 or 2, just break it a little bit. The smaller fillet is more for comfort at the bottom when it glides over something. And this is really more when we see or touch it, or when our leg hits it or something, we don't get a cut. Very good. So, because everything is designed with position at the world center, we still need 2 more of those. Again, we can use the circular pattern command. So this body along the z-axis 3 times. There we are. Beautiful. I can select all those with shift, right click and say view. And let's take a look. Yeah. Pretty awesome. You see also here everything matches. Then it's because that's a hexagon. So 6, we brought over 3. It's half of a hexagon. The last piece now to do is how can we do the glide at at the bottom. We go back to the leg. And now I will do, yeah, somewhere here I would like something to go under. So I will do the following. Somewhere, let's first turn this off. Somewhere will be the midpoint. It's there. Okay. Then click down to there. And now this midpoint, I would like to be, this endpoint, I would like to be horizontally constrained to the center point, which, if I do this, puts this onto the ground. Now I need an arc to go through there. By the way, this is actually maybe a good point with the fit point to show you. See, start, end, and it flows through there. And if we go with here, click, 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 you see the point got placed there, but the spline doesn't go through there. Okay, so I think this was a really good example for how this works. To have a nice domed piece, we will go to arc, 3-point, that's cool, click, click, and then we click onto there. That makes actually the arc run through this point. And now we could press escape and see when I bring this over, we see how the midpoint here moves to the left, but this point and this point I would like to be symmetrical to this line. And then there it is. Now when I move this, you see how this goes. A little bit of geometry. When this is the midpoint or the center point of my circle, I can also say this point, come on Fusion, please don't do this right now. I love it when this happens. Okay, I'm holding on the Mac the Command or Apple key, and on the PC that would be your Control key. And when you hold it and click the left mouse button and wait, you will get this context menu. You see there's the sketch point. Good. And then I can go U to there, zack. So now this center point of my circle is vertically on this line, and now this basically works like a symmetry too, because this point only can go down. When I move this point, this goes down or up, and then this point has to move. Or left, left, symmetry, this line, escape. Very good. Cool. We can give this a distance, maybe shift, click, click, and press D, or sketch dimension, 25 millimeters. But now we have to be careful that, yeah, it fits in a little bit, it rounds there. Maybe we go with 22, very good. Finish. Let's show this sketch again. This is actually a revolve object. So revolve this along this line. Yeah, it gives us this warning, but new body please, thank you. And look at that. We have something that looks like a glide. Okay, caster, coaster. And 3 pieces, tuck, and they fall in place. Yeah. And that basically, yeah, finishes the conceptual model of this. We have here some patterns. We can actually select those patterns, right click and say dissolve. Select all this and dissolve just to clean it up. And then we have here all our bodies. If we want to help actually the list of bodies to be easier to navigate, right click, new group. We could call this legs. And then let's say This last one and this one. Okay. Drag this one in, click and drag. Very good. Now, so you see how we can actually make groups and then put elements, for example, in these folders. So we don't have a super long list to browse. Very nice. Okay, time to give everything some materials. We will start with the tabletop. And this is an MDF material. MDF is basically, think about it, all the wood fibers dust with a lot of glue pressed into sheets, nice and smooth. No wood grain, can be cut, sanded, and finished perfectly. So the outside we will make nice and white. So we go modify parents. We go to paint, glossy, and this paint enamel glossy white. We drag on. Double click. We can adjust the white color if we want. We can also adjust the roughness or the reflectivity. Just leave those with the default values right now. Cool. Okay. Now, the bottom part, we actually would like to show the original construction material, MDF, because we could paint each side, but it would make everything a little bit more expensive. So let's go to Chrome. And when you type in, for example, MDF wood texture and go to seamless, we can find these images. I go to this one, right click, save image as to the desktop. This is actually sufficient for preview material. It's not the best, the resolution and the size, but for communicating an idea before we really do final renderings, perfect. Few points to when you look for images: no reflection, no highlights, anything. Ideally, this should look flat. You can see here, there's some sort of shadow at the bottom. Also, for example, here, these corners, very distractive. This is dark, this is distractive. This, for example, is nice and evenly illuminated. So ideally, you want to have images without any reflection, dark parts, or whatever. Very good. So let's go to Photoshop. We would like to get rid of this. Very easy. We go to the toolbar area and then we select the spot healing brush. And then we just click and paint over. That's it. Right click. Now we can adjust the size. Don't make the size too big, because then sometimes you can get some funny results. File and export as, and we would like to save this as PNG. Very good. Then we go to Affinity. So Affinity is actually a competitor to Adobe. And the reason why I show you these three programs is also for every student to understand why I don't necessarily care much about it has to be Adobe. For me, it's much more important that you understand how image manipulation, how vector manipulation and layouting works, because the truth is these programs are 95% the same, just the interface looks different. So here they call this in-painting brush. Same deal, paint over it, zoc, done, file, export as PNG. Cool. Both programs are Mac and PC. This is renting per month. This is paying $45 one time and you own it. And the same for the Illustrator and InDesign version they offer. I switched to Affinity simply because I don't want to give money to Adobe all the time, when essentially this software company gives me the tools to do everything I need. Pixelmator is another only Mac version. It's actually really nice and fast. Here pretty much the same way. Right click, different brush size, painting over it. And there we are. File, export, desktop, yeah, PNG. And I just overwrite this. Export PNG. PNG is better because it's less compressed than JPEG. JPEG has compressions or compression artifacts. Now, back to Fusion. We will go to not glass and paint. We go to other. And here we have base, layered, opaque. Drag this one in. And this is now important. Face. And we drag this onto that face. So then the rest is actually this material and this is that material. Double click. Advanced. Right click. Image. Where you saved actually the PNG image. And now there we can see our texture. Okay. We can maybe try to see, can we adjust the size? Edit image. This is a rectangular shape. That's not correct. So turn this off. The image has an 800 by 600 pixel format. So 800 by 600 pixels, but that's maybe a little bit too big. So maybe go by 400, 300. This is just only introduction level right now. And this looks a little bit better. This has a little bit of an offset. So maybe minus 40. But then here it sticks through. So maybe minus 20. The offset basically shifts it left and right a little bit. And maybe 30. Go left and right. Yeah. Okay. Not perfect. Click OK. Close. And there we are. We don't really see much of an issue besides just there. So what we will do now is right click and say texture mapping control. And we will switch actually automatic to box. And then you see, we can actually drag things around a little bit. Try to hide some of these problems. Okay. There's a little bit more to it. I don't want to spend too much time on it. This for what we need to do right now will be good. We will perfect this at a later point. So this is good. Now it's time to take a look at this base. We go to modify, appearance. Now we can do body, drag this over there. This is actually kind of glossy, so double click and then reflectance to 0. You see how it turns off the shimmer. Roughness can actually be up. It's a pretty rough surface. And right click. And you will also have this at automatic. You see then this problem box. Now, because this is a smaller object, it's much easier to drag this around and find the perfect fit. This illustrates actually the problem with images. Sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't fit. Good. Yeah. Now this is actually done. Very good. Support and legs. Modify appearance. Paint, we go down, 3D wood. And we will go with Sherry semi-glossy. That looks good. And then we just drag this onto all these materials. And there too. Zack, zack, zack. This here should be some sort of a movement stopping material, rubber, for example. So let's type in RUB. And then it will tell you I have this in my private collection or in Fusion. We have hard, soft. We would like to use soft. And then we drag this onto those there. They're way too black. They're like black holes. We perfect white, perfect black we can't produce. So double click and make this not as black. Done. Okay. This looks really, really nice. Here we forgot one. Double click. We can actually adjust also the color of these three-dimensional woods. So if this should be more matched actually to there. So there you can see that with the type of wood we select, it's more also the grain. And then if we want, there are a lot more functions, but I won't explain those too much right now. It would be too much, but we can at least also color theme this a little bit more. What I will do, undo, just keep it at this red. That looks actually really nice. This white, soft white or actual white, and here the sherry. Yeah, and that's it.